葉を知ってるか。さらに向こうへうるせえ。
Welcome back everyone to another video on my channel. I'm D-Rec and you're watching ARG, where I bring you some of the latest Cardfight content and updates. Today I'm going to be covering two things. The first is the results of the ARG Invitational in Philly, and the second thing is my thoughts on the upcoming ban restricted list update coming on August 14th. So if you guys end up enjoying my view and the coverage of today's video, be sure to leave a like and click the bell button to subscribe and follow me and get all your notifications and good stuff. Moving into the results of the Invitational, congratulations to Jason Roberts, also known as the face of LivingProof. So if you guys are hardcore Spike Brothers fans, you guys should know who this is, and I'm super happy that he was able to win. He is someone that I do know from Connecticut, and I'm really stoked that he did so well at the event this past weekend. So shout out to him and the OTT Geese player he was playing against. If you guys haven't seen the match video yet, my goodness, you guys need to watch it. I will be posting the link to the video in the description below, as well as a link to LivingProof's channel. So that match probably was one of the best matches I've seen in quite some time. I haven't truly seen a good match that just had that much ebb and flow and back and forth going on. So if you guys enjoyed as much as I did, definitely be sure to comment on it as well. And just, man, it was such a good match. I can't even explain just how good of a match it was. Shout out to him, and I do believe he'll be posting a deck profile in the near future once he gets back from Philly, so definitely stay on the lookout for that. Again, link in the description below. So that's it for the Invitational. I will try and see when they post deck lists, so I can go over what top looked like for the event and get a little clan distribution going on, so we see just how much diversity is going on, if there is a whole lot of diversity, because I do believe Jason was one of the few, if not only, player playing spikes at the event. So not too sure. If you guys were there and you were playing spikes, let me know, just so I don't kind of count you guys out, because I want to see just how many people were playing different clans. So moving into now the discussion on the upcoming ban restricted list update. So if you guys remember from last week's weekly stream, you will know that they were going to be attempting to touch base on the ban restricted list. We don't know for which format it will be for. We're all assuming it's going to be for premium just because of how many issues are going on in premium. So I have a list of things that I think they might touch. These are all the combinations that I've seen so far that really take the cake on how the meta is going to shift with this V-era support. So if you guys find what I have to say insightful, or if you guys have anything at all that I might have missed, or any considerations that I haven't taken into account, leave them in the comments below. I want to read and see what you guys have to say, just because my list might not be as complete as your list, or I might omit some things because I didn't either see it or I didn't think it was as big of a deal. But I may have overlooked a few things. If you guys see anything like that, leave them in the comments. I want to read them 100%. Going into my observations now, my first one, which is probably the most notable one, is the interaction between Silent Tom and Ichikishima for OTT. If you guys don't know what that combination does, Ichikishima's skill prevents your opponent from guarding with grade 0s and G-guards during the turn you activate her skill. And that's for the rest of the turn, it's not just for her attack. So that in and of itself is really good already. It was really good when set 12 came out and Battle Sisters were really good. Now with the new Silent Tom, whose skill says when he attacks your opponent can't guard with normal units, the combination of both skills makes it so that your opponent cannot guard, period, against a Silent Tom attack in Premium. So if your opponent's rocking two really solid Tom columns, then you're not going to be able to guard it, period. And if it's off of, let's say, Victorious Deer with inherent crit, forget it. It's not even like worth looking at, just because of how you just can't guard it. There's nothing you can do to guard it, because you can't guard with normal units, which takes up 2/3 of your deck. You can't guard with triggers, which takes up 2/3 of your deck. You can't guard with G guards. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. The only deck that could really somehow get around this is Gurgit, and even then it still couldn't guard everything. So that's something that's pretty degenerate as a combo, and either or could be banned. I don't think Ichi will be banned, just because that it's still very beneficial to the archetype, whereas Tom doesn't really offer anything aside from the guard restrict combo. So I would see Ichi being kept over Tom, and Tom being the one that gets banned or restricted to a 1-of or something like that. But that's something that needs to be addressed firstly and foremost. Next up is an interaction between the new Alfred early and King of Knights Alfred and Undulatory Sage Tarna. So Tarna came out in the Vanguard and Deleter booster. So if you guys remember that from way back when, he's a grade 2 that says when he's placed, if you have a grade 3 Vanguard, I think with Alfred in the stood position, you can search your deck for another grade 3 Alfred, write it as stand, and then give it plus 5k. So if you have like a maximum of 4 copies of Tarna in your hand going into your first grade 3 turn, you can get up to 5 Imaginary Gift Force markers on your field going into your first grade 3 turn, and that's 50k power spread across your board, and that's permanent. So you're just like, oh my god, that's so much power in one turn. It's disgusting. That's another combination that I think needs to be addressed. I think Tarna either needs to be banned outright or limited to 1, so that it's not as searchable. There's only one card that's really played right now that searches, and it's not even that good, so that's another combination there. Next up is a combination that came out with the release of the Destructive Roar Extra Booster. It involves a combination between 3 cards: the Zoa Zerath Dragon, the new Death Warden Antlion, and the new Phantom Black. So it's a trifecta combination. Zoa, as we all know, gives a unit 99,999 power, and if it hits, it wins, and it can't be touched, period. So that already is really good. Back in G, it was just perfect guard bait, so it was whatever. But now with these new cards, so Death Warden has an on rearguard or Vanguard ability that gives him plus 10 and a crit, and your opponent can't guard with Sentinels against it. So it's not going to get the power, it's not going to get the crit, but it's going to have the guard restrict put on your opponent, where they can't use perfect guards now. Now they have to guard with hard shield. And then the combination with Phantom Black says that they can't use normal units. So in this situation, your shield values are going to be where most of your guard comes from anyway, so this combination isn't too bad. You can still G-guard and you can still use triggers to stop it. But in this combination, I could see Antlion being banned just so that you can still use Sentinels. It might be left and Phantom Black gets banned or limited or whatever, so that your opponent can still guard with a lot of hard shield value. But Death Warden gets around the biggest flaw in Zoa's skill, which was its perfect guard bait. So I could see either or being kept, just because Phantom Black gets around normal unit perfect guards, so they couldn't call like the new Lien perfect guard, or they couldn't call any of the G perfect guards they couldn't call, or the Trial Deck ones in V series. So that I could see, it could be either or really, but it does add an element of more guard consideration just because of how good it is. Next up is a combination that doesn't yet exist, and will exist with the release of the ultra rare Miracle Collection booster, and that is a combination of Wonder Ezel from set 7 and the new Blonde Ezel that's coming out in the ultra rare booster. Now, we don't know what the new Ezel skill is going to be like. If it has an on-place ability, that's going to make it immensely more viable for this combination, but because we don't know what that is yet, it may not be as bad. However, it still has the potential to be worse than the Tarna play with Alfred, where Wonder Ezel is able to abuse the gift marker on Blonde Ezel. Because, as we all know already, if you guys watched the live stream or the reveal, golds are going to be getting the Excel marker in the set. So you're looking at, if you have quad Wonder Ezel in your hand, you're looking at a potential maximum of 4 gift markers on your first grade 3 turn, which already screams super duper good. If they make this, I don't know, this is gonna be the VR, so they might make whatchamacallit, Platinum Ezel in the future. I don't know exactly all the details, but if this combination exists post ultra rare booster and they make another version of Platinum Ezel, this combination is going to be disgusting right off the bat. Immediately, Wonder Ezel needs to be restricted to either a one of or a just outright banned card. So just so that the clan doesn't easily abuse multiple Excel circles in the same turn, the same way Tarna abuses the gift markers in the same turn. So that's another combination that needs to be addressed very heavily. And then the last one I see, it's a bit of an older one, it already exists, but with the new Gold Paladin support coming out in a few months, it leaves more open-ended consideration that this might actually be more viable with the more generic Gold Paladin support coming in the next few months. And that's the combo with Raven-haired Ezel and Gurgit Helios. Now, Raven-haired Ezel came out in the Revival Collection way back when, and it was never really good, just because there were so many other avenues for guard and stuff like that at the time that didn't even matter if you couldn't, guard with certain things. If you guys don't remember, Raven-haired Ezel's skill says when it's placed, if you're at limit break 5, it gets plus 10,000 power, and for the rest of the turn, your opponent can only guard with grade 1s. So right away, that would have been good in the beginning of G or before, but it didn't really speak volumes once G guards came out, and it was just like, meh, whatever. So no one really played it. And then when Gurgit Helios came out, that was really good, but it was also in a time where the next set would just phase out what was in the preceding set in terms of metagame. So I was like, oh, set 13 came out. Oh, well then we've got the Stargate booster. Well, everything in this set just gets a wash. Oh, set 14 came out. Everything in Stargate got washed. Oh, we've got Divas Festa. Well, everything before that gets a wash. So that was the meta game going into the end of G. So it kind of got phased out after a few months. But now that we're looking at V-Series and the lack of future G unit support, this combination could be very viable. It essentially says your opponent can only G-guard for the duration of the turn, or call grade 1s. Against the Helios attack, they can only G-guard, so they'd have to get around a beefy number of attacks, especially if this is in the later game where the gold player is able to get multiple Excel circles. Those units on those circles will also count towards the power boost that Helios gets, so that's also something to consider as well. It might not be as bad since we don't know what the rest of the Gold Paladin support's going to be, but off the bat, it kind of seems like a really gross play. There are a few other things to be considered as well, such as, for example, the combination of Bravest Victor Grand Gallop with Stark and the new Commander Laurel. That's also pretty bad, just because of how much power and the inherent crit that Commander Laurel gives is just really good. Same thing for Bravest Peak. Bravest Peak can hit almost 200,000 power with the combination of the Cosmic Hero unit that doubles power, and then Bravest Victor giving an inherent plus 10k, and then Bravest Peak's skill allowing him to restand, and then getting quad drive in his first attack, and then the combination with Stark as well. 3 attacks with a ton of power is pretty darn gross. So in combination with cards like Linka as well, since Dimension Police has that stand trigger, Linka prevents your opponent, or not doesn't prevent, but if you drive trigger grade 3, you can break a Sentinel, which, whoa, super good, especially since Cosmic Heroes can beef up so much power. And then having a card that can break guard like that is just really, really gross. So, and then a few other things as well, such as ARG or ARG Coral Hybrid. There's a bunch of cards in that entire build that works in synergy with everything else. So I don't know exactly what would need to be banned in that combination. Maybe the Stride, and even then the Stride's kind of okay. It's just everything in the main deck is equally as good and synergistic with the stuff in the G zone. So it's like, I don't know quite well what needs to be attended to in that archetype and that deck build specifically, just because it's not something I'm familiar with. But something in that deck build or those deck builds needs to be addressed, because both archetypes, the hybrid deck build versus just the pure ARG, can still easily keep up with decks that use gift markers as well as the G zone. So something to keep in the back of the mind. But that's pretty much it for things that I want to cover in terms of a banned or restricted list update. I don't know if obviously this is going to be covered, but these are all the things that I've seen that cause some form or another of imbalance in premium. If they do address a good portion of these, I could see premium being much more balanced out. The first thing that really needs to be addressed is the ET Tom play, just because that's the most degenerate of all of them. But other than that, everything else has a means of being played around, and it's not so bad that it's just untouchable, but they're still kind of sort of bad. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys end up enjoying what I have to say, again, please sure to leave a like and click the bell button to subscribe. Also, if you have any thoughts, leave them in the comments below. I want to read them. I want to hear them. I want to know what other people have to say about what may or may not be in the ban list. So I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about it, especially the whole ARG or ARG Coral hybrid thing, just because I'm not too familiar with the build. So it's something that I would want to hear other players who are a bit more experienced in that regard. And I want to hear their opinions about as well. So thanks again for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.